On Global TV News Express, President Bola Tinubu says the positive results of his administration's efforts noticeable to Nigerians. In business, NNPCL confirms shutdown of Port Harcourt refinery for maintenance. On the foreign scene, Russia launches major aerial attack on Ukraine capital. And in sports, Venue Rao casts shadow over CAF Confederation Cup final in Zanzibar. Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to the News Express on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I'm Queen Agaba. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365, on StarTimes channel 276 and free to air on Nigecomsat. You can also download the Global TV Nigeria mobile app for Android and iOS devices to keep track of our broadcast. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has reiterated that the reforms being executed by his administrations are already yielding positive results, which are becoming noticeable to Nigerians. The president noted that despite the economic downturn faced by the country at the inception of his administration, steps had been taken to fix the challenges. President Tinubu stated this during the 35th convocation ceremony of Adeyemi Federal University of Education, Ondo City, Ondo State, represented by the Vice Chancellor of Obafemi Awolowo University, Professor Adebayo Bamire. He assured Nigerians that universities and other tertiary institutions have been factored into the plans for more funding in order to equip them to compete favorably with others globally. A former Senate leader and lawmaker representing Borno South, Senator Ali Ndume, has commended President Bola Tinubu for appointing several northerners to key positions within federal agencies, calling it a step towards inclusive governance. In a statement personally signed and issued in Abuja, Ndume praised the president for responding to earlier concerns over regional imbalance in government appointments. His comments followed announcement of 12 new appointments from the region into strategic national positions. The People's Democratic Party Special Reconciliation Committee, chaired by former President of the Senate, Dr. Bukola Saraki, met with Governor Peter Mbah of Enugu State, who is also the leader of the party in the Southeast Zone. It was reported that at the meeting, which held behind closed doors at the Enugu State Government House, was part of efforts to stem the tide of defections rocking the party. Other members of the committee at the meeting were former Governor of Bayelsa State, Senator Seriake Dixon, and former Governor of Gombe State, Dr. Ibrahim Dankwambo. The federal government has concluded plans to sell a sprawling estate linked to former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, to low and middle-income Nigerians. The massive property, comprising 753 housing units, was recovered by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission in December 2024. According to the EFCC, it is the largest single asset recovery since the agency's inception in 2003. It covers over 150,000 square meters and includes duplexes and other apartment types. The legal team of suspended Kogi Central Senator Natasha Akpoti Uduaghan has received a formal summons In the case filed against her by the federal government at the Federal Capital Territory High Court last week, the government accused the senator of making imputation knowing or having reason to believe that such imputations will harm the reputation of a person, citing Section 391 of the Penal Code, Cap 89, Laws of the Federation, 1990. Among the witnesses listed to testify during the trial were Senate President Godswill Akpabio and former Governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello. The Imo State Governor, Hope Uzodinma, has called on the Nigerian Police Force and the Department of State Services to intensify the investigation of suspected hackers of the Joint Administration and Monitoring Board's website, JAMB, experienced glitches in its website in the last Unified Tertiary and Matriculation Board examination, which affected the results of more than 370,000 students, mostly from the southeast. The police and the DSS announced the arrest of 20 suspects over the hacking of the 2025 computer-based test of the UTME examination. The suspects were said to have compromised for a fee the JAMB website, resulting in the chaos experienced by the examination body and the subsequent trauma for parents and students. The Nigerian Education Loan Fund says over 550,000 loan applications were received in 1 year. The fund made this known in a statement to mark 1 year since its launch on May 24, 2024. The implementation of the student loan scheme is President Bola Tinubu's flagship project in the education sector. Barely a month after his inauguration as president, Tinubu signed the Access to Higher Education Act, which creates a legal framework for granting loans to indigent or low-income Nigerians to facilitate the payment of their fees in Nigerian tertiary institutions. Academic Staff Union of Universities has hinted on embarking on an industrial action to press home its demand to go on strike over the unresolved 2009 agreement. The new president of ASU, Professor Chris Piwuna, stated this at a press conference in Abuja. This is even as the union, in its assessment of the President Bola Tinubu 2-year administration, lamented the institutional weaknesses, bureaucratic inefficiencies, and endemic corruption that has undermined governance at all levels. Before any meaningful conversation begins in Igbo land, one sacred item must be presented: the kola nut known as Oji Igbo, that symbolizes peace, respect, and hospitality, and also carries deep cultural and spiritual meaning. Our correspondent, Amarachi Ibe, visited Avu Autonomous Community in Owerri West, where elders performed the traditional kola nut rituals and shared insight into its significance. Here is her report. We apologize and we'll bring you that report subsequently. You're watching the live broadcast of the News Express. When News Express returns, EU calls for respect after Trump threatens 50% tariffs. Details coming shortly after the break. Please stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. In business, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has officially announced the shutdown of the Port Harcourt Refining Company. In a statement, the NNPC confirmed that the facility will be shut down for a month for maintenance activities. According to the NNPC Chief Corporate Communications Officer, Olufemi Shoneye, the shutdown will commence today, May 24th. Shoneye added that the company is working with relevant stakeholders to ensure efficiency and transparency during the exercise. An official of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Lovett Ononuga, says that 85% of the proceeds of the value-added tax go to the 36 state governments of the Federation. Ononuga, who is the FIRS Director, Taxpayer Service Department, further stated that the federal government retains just 15% of the funds. Onanuga, who spoke at a one-day strategic tax communication session organized by the service in Abuja, tasked Nigerians with active participation in governance by holding leaders, especially state governors, accountable for their financial expenditure. In a major boost to commercial agriculture in Nigeria, the Dangote Group and the Niger Delta government is fostering a partnership worth billions of naira. The conglomerate say significant investment has been deployed into companies' rice production infrastructure in the state, even as it is partnering the government of the Niger Food Initiative. Senior Special Advisor to the President and Chief Executive of Dangote Group, Fatima Wali Abdurrahman, says the company's state-of-the-art rice mill in Wushishi is progressing steadily and on track for completion. The Nigerian Shippers Council, NSC, has expressed optimism that the National Assembly will forward the Nigerian Port Economic Regulatory Agency bill to the presidency for assent in the next few weeks. Speaking at the 2025 annual retreat of Public Relations Unit of the Council in Lagos, the Executive Secretary NSC Pius Akuta stated that the Nigerian Port Economic Regulatory Agency bill has been passed by both chambers of the National Assembly, and the process of working on the bill to put in proper perspective that can be sent to the presidency for assent was just concluded recently. He added that the National Assembly will forward that to the president for assent in a few weeks to come. Users of X, the platform formerly known as Twitter, are grappling with a widespread outage, leaving both the website and app inaccessible. The Elon Musk-owned social network began experiencing issues about 1:30 p.m. on Saturday, according to Downtector.uk. User complaints surged from just 66 to over 11,000 within minutes, peaking at 1:39 p.m. This marks the second major disruption in a matter of days. On Thursday, millions were affected by another outage that disrupted key features including direct messages, login pages, and access to various parts of the platform across both mobile and desktop. The European Union's trade chief say the 27-member bloc is committed to securing a trade deal with the U.S. based on respect, not threat. It comes after U.S. President Donald Trump threatened to slap a 50% tariff on all goods sent to the U.S. from the EU. Earlier, Trump expressed impatience with the pace of ongoing EU to U.S. trade negotiations, saying his plan to raise tariffs on June 1st was set. On the foreign scene, at least 8 people were wounded in a drone and missile attack on Kyiv city, just as Russia and Ukraine were in the middle of a major prisoner swap. The head of Kyiv's civil and military administration, Timur Kachenko, reported fires and falling debris in several parts of the Ukrainian capital after explosions were heard overnight. At least 8 people were wounded in the attack, 2 of whom were hospitalized, according to the city's mayor, Vitaly Klitschko. City authorities say at least 14 people have been injured in a major Russian missile and drone attack on Kyiv. Russia launched 250 drones and 14 ballistic missiles against Kyiv, according to Ukraine's Air Force, causing fires in residential buildings. It was one of the biggest combined aerial assaults on the city since the war began. The Air Force say it had downed 6 missiles and 245 drones. The barrage came as Russia and Ukraine are taking part in prisoner swaps agreed after talks between the two countries' officials in Turkey. And an Israeli airstrike on Gaza hit the home of a doctor and killed 9 of her 10 children. The hospital where she works in the city of Khan Younis reported. Nasser Hospital say one of Dr. Allah Al-Najjar's children and her husband were injured. Both survived. Graham Groom, a British surgeon working in the hospital, said he had operated on her surviving 11-year-old body. I beg your pardon, her 11-year-old boy. A video shared by the director of the Hamas-run Health Ministry showed small burned bodies being lifted from the rubble of a strike in Khan Yunis. In sports, Nigeria's highest-ranked women's player, Rafiat Abdulaziz, and her Kwara teammate, Blessing Isaac, completed a 1-2 finish in the women's singles of the squash event at the 2024 National Sports Festival in Ogun State. Abdulaziz outclassed Isaac in the all-Kwara final, defeating her 11-6 in the first set and 11-7 in the second set before the latter crashed out in the third set to eventually hand the former the ultimate prize. A CAF Confederation Cup final venue dispute has overshadowed the second leg between Simba and Tanzania and Renaissance Berkane of Morocco in the Indian Ocean island of Zanzibar. Host Simba, who trailed 2-0 after the first leg last weekend, wanted to stage the return march at the 60,000-seat Benjamin Mkapa Stadium in Dar es Salaam. But an inspection of the national stadium in the Tanzanian commercial capital by the Confederation of African Football ruled that it was unsuitable for the title decider. Instead, CAF ordered the second leg to be played at the Aman Stadium, a 15,000-seater in Zanzibar, which is a 3-hour ferry journey from Dar es Salaam. As we end the Global News Express, let's take a look at our top stories. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has reiterated that the reforms being executed by his administration are already yielding positive results, which are becoming noticeable to Nigerians. In business, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has officially announced the shutdown of the Port Harcourt Refining Company. On the foreign scene, city authorities say at least 14 people have been injured in a major Russian missile and drone attack on Kyiv. And in sports, a CAF Confederation Cup final venue dispute has overshadowed the second leg between Simba of Tanzania and Renaissance Berkane of Morocco in the Indian Ocean island of Zanzibar. And that's it on Global TV News Express. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365, on StarTimes channel 276, and free-to-air on NIGECIMSAT. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms using @Global TV NG and other handles now showing on your screen. You can also download the Global TV Nigeria mobile app for Android and iOS devices to keep track of our broadcast. I am Queen Agapa. Thank you for watching and see you again.